Hello! Today is December 19th, 2012, and you are listening to I Think You Think, a podcast that puts a new spin on debate and discussion. I'm Justin. On the other side of my computer screen is James.
Hello.
And we are your hosts and carry no credentials worth noting. I Think You Think is a podcast that focuses on what we, your hosts, think, but also what you think. Too many times we spend debates and discussions talking past one another and not enough time trying to learn and understand why someone thinks what they think. This is what makes I Think You Think different, because we are focused on why people think the way that they do and why we think the way that we do. James and I believe that the forum of ideas should be open to everyone, and everyone should have the opportunity to challenge and be challenged by ideas. We are not here to pass judgment, but merely discuss ideas and topics. This podcast, first and foremost, is a conversation between us and hopefully you. If you would like to participate, please feel free to email us at ithinkyouthink2012@gmail.com. You may also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ithink.youthink or on Tumblr at ithinkyouThinkPodcast.tumblr.com. On our Tumblr, you will also find any relevant links to any of the topics we happen to talk about. I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions and is recorded live at Fisher International Studios. I am hearing scratching. How are you doing over there, James?
I'm doing good. Just having a little microphone issue. I apologize.
I thought you were being attacked by the zombies.
No. I would have excitedly let you know that was happening and invited you to come over and help me.
Excellent. Well, I mean, you know why there might be zombies, right?
End of the world, 2 days.
That's right. 2 more days, and it's the end of the world, according to the Mayans. So what are you doing to prepare for that?
I'm gonna work my last 2 days of 7 straight, and then hope that I didn't work the last 7 days of my time on this earth.
I'm with you on that one, because I close tonight, and I will close tomorrow, and I will also close on the last night on this planet. So I will be away from my family and running my store, and that's how I'm going to end this, go out of this world.
Well, hopefully not, but if it happens, know that I'll be working too and away from everybody that, well, maybe not everybody that I care about, but the majority of the people that are truly close to me in my life.
Well, I guess it really kind of depends on what, we mean by the end of the world or the apocalypse. I mean, is it like a cosmic ray or gamma ray type thing where it's just going to blast every living thing off the planet and leave it as kind of a smoldering rock in this lonely little solar system? Or is it like the zombie apocalypse type thing where people are going to be alive, just though our way of life has changed?
Maybe they just mean that Facebook is going to crash and never come back up again.
That actually might be worse than the other two.
For some people, yes.
Yeah. I'm in favor of the zombie one, though.
Me as well. I mean, and I know I have a lot of friends, I'm sure you do too, that if that's, if the world's going to end, which we know, we don't hope that it does, but if it is going to end, I want it to end Walking Dead style. Why not? I've been mentally preparing myself for that. I'm ready to go.
I think the worst thing for me is that I don't own any guns.
See, I have several friends that do own guns, some probably maybe even uncomfortable amount of guns, but they seem to be very mentally sane people, so I'm down with it. It's all good. I have a good friend who's he can fly small planes. I have a worker of mine who's a paramedic. I'm building a team. I'm ready, Walking Dead version 2.0, where we're actually ready for it as opposed to being fumbling around being like, I don't believe it's a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, or holding up inside your own home.
Right.
Yeah.
Putting all your waste into buckets and storing it in some spare room. Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, I have swords. So, I mean, we're not completely defenseless. I've got a couple of samurai swords and some British long swords. I've got a World War II Japanese bayonet, which is about 2 feet long. That one's not too bad.
Well, I would go with the katanas because, Michonne seems to make it work on the show. I'm not sure if you watch the show.
Oh, I certainly do.
Well, yeah, Michonne definitely makes it work, you know.
Yeah, but mine aren't sharpened, so I'd have to get them sharpened before. I got, I guess, 2 days.
Yeah, you might want to jump on that. Um, I'm sure that I'm guessing if the world ends via zombie apocalypse, the knife sharpening or sword sharpening company, wherever that is probably going to be at least closed for a couple of days. Just my guess. I'm not sure. But, I mean, getting back to the end of the world and the end of the Mayan calendar, I think I don't know. I am a little older than you, but I feel like every couple of years it's something. Here comes the end of the world again. We were wrong the last four times, but this time it was a civilization that died out thousands of years ago, or I'm not actually sure exactly when I always get the Mayans and the Incans and there's a third civilization that was like Mexico down through um,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it
South
is too.
America.
Yep.
Um, yeah, there were like three ancient civilizations, basically that I remember learning about in school that were down through there. And they're all kind of separated by a decent amount of time. But whenever the Mayans have been gone for a really, really long time. And they wrote a calendar and extrapolated out supposedly Friday's the day. They had an accurate enough calendar that we could predict it down to this Friday, which, I'm not wrapping any of my presents, by the way, until Saturday at the earliest, because I'm not going through all that if the world's going to end. Um, but it's just one more thing. And I don't know how, like, I haven't talked to anyone who seems to really take it seriously. Um, have you?
I don't no, I don't believe that anybody does. I mean, I honestly I believe everybody jokes about it. I think that, um, but I mean, how many people did you talk to who actually believed Harold camping last year in May and then later in October? Did you have any people who were close to you or friends or acquaintances who actually believed Harold Camping's, Jesus is going to return on May 21st, I think it was, of 2011? And
Yeah, I'm not sure about the date, but no, not a single soul.
yeah, and at least with that one, there were people. There were people who gave up their life savings and sold their homes and traveled the country telling people that the world was going to end, or Jesus was coming back, and the apocalypse was about to happen, and now here it is, a year and a half after that, and everything's gone for them. I mean, there are people who do believe in, maybe not the Mayan, but they definitely will believe in end of the world events. Either it's going to be something like Jesus is returning, or it's going to be, we're going to run out of oil, and that's going to, change drastically how the world kind of operates. Have you ever watched the show? And I'm not sure what station it's on.
Doomsday
Doomsday
Preppers.
Preppers. Yes,
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 I
yes.
have.
I have watched that a couple of times, and I get the same kind of feeling as when I watch the show Hoarders. Just in terms of, I can't believe that there are people like this out there.
I agree to some. I mean, there's some of the people that I've seen on that show that um, are very extreme, are like extreme, like way, they have a bunker and everything. And there are some people that are like prepared for, some eventual disaster, which is a reasonable possibility and can fall within the extreme range of sane preparedness. Um, but yeah, as a general rule, it's like you ever had someone tell you should never go grocery shopping when you're hungry.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing. You should never go grocery shopping right after watching that show because you will be like, "Are you serious? You only have a pallet of this 50-pound bags of rice? Because I need at least four pallets of rice, because like,
What am I going to eat in 15 years?
right, right. I don't know. Again, getting back to the repetitiveness of the impending end of the world, Y2K was a really big one for, um, especially those of us that were old enough to realize the possibility of what if we did make a mistake when we started building all these electronic and computer systems in the world that is actually going to make them stop working. Like, what is the, huge effect of that? That felt way more real to me as being a possible complication, not by any means the end of the world, but a huge pain, for a long time, a huge complication to deal with.
Yeah, they had. I mean, with that one, there was the very real possibility that subway systems would shut down and elevators would stop working, and you wouldn't your credit card um, machines would stop. ATMs, all these types of things would just shut off because of the last two digits. We would think it was 1900 or 1901 instead of it was 1900 Y2K. Yeah, 19. It
Right.
would think it was 1900 instead of 2000. Um, but that wasn't even something that was really prophesied. That was just somebody at some point said, "Hey, you know, maybe we made a mistake in how we were doing this coding. This could potentially create an issue. We should probably do something about it." And then that's the story that got run, and that was the thing that, oh my God, the world is going to collapse. But that wasn't, the difference. I would say, and probably why even you might feel that it was more real, because I would agree with you. It was definitely a more real kind of potential for problems than something like Mayans or Harold Camping.
Even Nostradamus, which wasn't as recently, would fit into that category.
Yeah, I mean those types of things. I, Maybe it's because there has never been a situation in which those types of prophecies have ever come true. And this other one, there was an actual real potential for problems, not end of the world kind of problems, but actual problems with computer systems. I mean, the computer engineers, the people who do the programming, actually said, "Hey, this is gonna, this could potentially be a problem," and it actually created a lot of jobs
It did.
of people going in to fix all of this, this computer programming.
Yeah, I was listening to news radio, on my way to or from work. I was probably two because normally on my way home from work it's relatively late and it's a whole different ball of wax on news radio at like 1 in the morning than it is at 3 in the afternoon. But they were comparing the considering the end of the Mayan calendar to be like the end of the world as we know it, to going into your kitchen or your office and like trying to flip past December on your calendar and realizing that there's no next month and being like the world's going to end on December 31st because there's no more calendar. He says that and I don't remember what his credentials were, but he actually, unlike us, he actually had some. Um, you know, so it was a really interesting way to put it. Because I mean, how long ago was that the Mayans were, making calendars?
I've heard that same thing. It was a guy who's actually his. I didn't hear but many months ago. I believe that I was watching one of those. What did the this Mayan December 21st, 2012. Does it really? What does it mean? It was one of those kind of throwaway little documentaries that History Channel or something puts out to kind of pull in a couple of views, couple of 100,000 views. Um, but they had a guy on there who he studied the Mayan civilization, like that was what he did. That was what he spent his life doing. And he said, yeah, it's that is exactly the equivalent. The equivalent is they made these calendars. Their calendars were just much, much longer than ours. And all it really means was an end of an age, and then on the 22nd would be the beginning of the next age. And it's just like, and I've said that to people, it's just like December 31st, it would be the end of the world if we came across one of our calendars and was like, oh my gosh, December 31st, the calendar doesn't keep going after that point, so that must mean the end of the world.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. It's such a weird thing. I mean, for me, it feels like there's got to be, and this sounds almost paranoid. There's got to be some mechanism in the machine in the background that like pushes these out there, whether it's just media trying to, sell their papers or get views for their TV shows or hits on their website, or I don't know who sells bottled water because every time there's the end of the world's coming, I guarantee you, like you see it all the time with Y2K is a really big example of when there'd be like empty shelves. They'd show like the grocery stores and things like that. And those areas where there are, the basic necessities, those shelves would be empty in some cases. It'd be interesting to know if when, the more significant end of the world scares were revolving around, what effect that had on economies. Is there is there a specific niche of society or of business that actually profits and it's consistent? Like war, they say war is good for business or whatever. It stimulates the economy when there's war. Does it stimulate the economy when people start wondering if the world's going to end in a month?
That is interesting. As you know, we're in two different aspects of retail. Um, you're in the restaurant business, and I'm in the like store retail business. Um, it would be hard to gauge. I will say that our sales this week are up more than they were last year, but it's hard to really gauge that because we're coming into Christmas.
Right,
Is it
right.
just people are spending more for Christmas, or are people buying more things because they think it's going to be the end of the world? I will say that it's probably not the last one, because the things that are selling are gifts, not the stuff from our grocery aisle. People aren't buying up our last cans of spam or anything. They're buying, a CD player or a DVD player or something like that. They're not buying, the groceries and things like that.
Right. And I mean, on the flip side, for me, it's been a relatively slow week at my store. I mean, we've had our little pops around the holidays, you always do. There's extra people in town. People have extra time off of work or they're back from school for the holidays or whatever it
You
is.
get a lot of people like, we drove by a Red Lobster today. My wife and I were out, and I mean, it's a Wednesday, and they were packed for lunch.
Was it the one that's close to Woodfield? Were you out that way?
No, no, it was out at Spring Hill Mall.
Okay. And that, like any restaurant during this time of year that has got like close proximity to the mall
Yeah,
is always going to be busier from basically the week of Thanksgiving through like the first week of
because
January.
people are just out shopping, and then they're like, "Let's get something to eat."
Right. And it's like, oh, let's go there. It's so close, it's convenient. The last of the chain of restaurants that I worked at was right near a mall. And it's really weird working in one that's not now during this time of year because I was expecting it's going to be crazy, couple weeks, we really got to be. And then like last night, we don't close till 11, but at 9:30, I basically only had one front of house staff person with me because it's all I needed. And it wasn't even busy for the two of us in any way, shape, or form. It was kind of boring with that few people. And over there, we probably at 9:30, they probably still had five, six people on, even though it's only a Tuesday night, and probably closed with a minimum of three people. I could have almost closed by myself by the time it was all said and done.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, when you're that close to the mall around this time of year, from that frenzy on Black Friday, and even leading up to that a little bit, all the way through early January, because people get gift cards for the holiday, and
Oh,
then
okay. I didn't even think
they
about
they
that.
st- yeah they spend them, so they're still out at the malls or they're returning things, that they didn't want but were lucky enough to score that gift receipt on. Um, So yeah, I mean, but I haven't seen in my restaurant. You'd think if people actually believed that the end of the world was coming, they'd just be out spending money willy-nilly,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so I mean, in the long run, I mean, at least this is what I'm getting now that we're sort of talking about this back and forth. I think it's like a neat thing to talk about, and people are like, "Oh, ha ha ha, the Mayan calendar is going to end." But there's probably only a very, very, very small percentage of people that take it seriously at all.
Yeah.
But those people are probably the scariest of people because what do you do if you actually believe the world's going to end in 2 days? I mean, technically, yeah, I mean, we're recording this, so we're technically in Thursday right now. So that means that overall, in less than 48 hours, the world will be over if it's right.
Hmm.
I mean, what do you do? I mean, I wouldn't do anything drastic and um, negative to anyone else in the world. I mean, except maybe quit my job if I truly believed it. I don't think I'd be going to work tomorrow or the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
day.
you better believe it. I wouldn't be going to work for the next couple of days if I actually believed it was going to be over on the 21st. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, like my initial thought is, well, I wouldn't worry about the money in my savings account. I would be getting all my money as quickly as possible, and I'd be like, well, what do you want to go do? Let's go have fun for the next two
right.
days. Let's go see your family today, and then drive out to Ohio to visit my family, and that'll be it. I mean, like that'll do it for us. I mean,
Mm.
like, but I'm sure. I mean, you bring up a good point. There's probably some. If there was somebody out there who actually believed it was over with, what would their choices be? It might not be just, I'm going to get all my money and go have a good time for the next couple of days. It might be, well, that guy Joe at work who's been bothering the crap out of me for the last 6 years. I'm going to go ahead and go do something about it.
Right, right. I'm not going to let the end of the world take him. I'm going to do that
Yeah.
because that's a good life decision.
Let's just hope that there's not too many people out there, or at least that they're far enough away from us that we don't have to
Right.
worry about it.
Give me the people that do like what you said and are going to just go visit family or, like my family's all the way in Connecticut, really. I mean, I got family here. I'd be more likely to like hole up in my house and just enjoy the wonders of life for a couple of days. Um, and then, if I wake up on Saturday, then, polish up the resume and see what I can find. Um, yeah, but I mean, and there's people that might just, load up with the bottled water and the bags of rice, like I was talking about earlier, and lock their doors and bar their windows and, hold out, maybe till Sunday, just make sure they didn't get the day wrong by one. And then, try to get all that Christmas shopping done that they weren't going to do because they thought the world was going to end. But I mean, it's it's one of those things. If the world's actually going to end, there's like nothing you can really do to truly prepare. Like if we're talking the true end of the world, like some big blast from outer space, the planets align and everything comes, scorched earth just in a blink,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you did. I mean, if we're at work and something like that level happens, you're going to be cashing out a customer. I'm going to be visiting a guest at my restaurant, and all of a sudden it's just going to be over. And we're going to be like, whatever. Either there's going to be nothing, or we're going to be experiencing some sort of afterlife, looking at each other like, man, dude, we really did an awesome podcast for what was about to happen because we were right on topic. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's loopy. It's crazy. I think it's fun to talk about and, you know, joke about. I've been joking about all week, like, oh, I'm working till the end of the world,
Yeah, yeah.
but then I got 2 days off, so that's kind of sweet, you know.
Well, I mean, and I would venture to guess that most people kind of look at it in a very humorous way. Um, it's I don't think that I find it really hard to believe that there's anybody out there who thinks that there is. And honestly, if there's really any kind of end of the world type of thing that's going to happen anytime soon, the one that you really need to worry about right now is Apophis. Have you heard of Apophis?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Okay, it's a an asteroid that is supposed to swing by us, and I'm not sure on the year
On
right
Friday?
now. No, no. It's in a few more years. Basically, it's an asteroid that's supposed to be swinging by us in a couple of years, and it's supposed to come so close that it will actually be closer to Earth than some of our weather satellites.
Ooh.
Um, and it's
And I'm
it's
guessing it's large.
it's pretty big, yeah. It's and what's the other thing that's a little scary about it, because it's not going to hit us. It's not going to hit us this time around. But there's a little keyhole, a little what they call a keyhole, where if it passes through this keyhole during this time around, then in I believe it's 10 years later when it comes back around, it will hit us. I mean, they've already done the math. If it there's a certain percentage chance that it'll go through this keyhole. If it does, it will hit us in 10 years. And they've even figured out that it will hit us in the Pacific Ocean and cause a very large tidal wave. The difference is that one, we already know that it could possibly hit us, and two, we'll know 10 years before whether or not it's going to. So we'll have 10 years to prepare for this. And as I've heard scientists talk about it, it's not like Armageddon type asteroid where if it hits us we die. It's more like if it actually hit us, it's going to be bad, and there's going to be trillions of dollars of devastation to, and probably a massive loss of life, but it's not going to wipe out life on this planet.
Right.
It's not going to kill all humans. It will drastically change the way the world works, but it's not going to end life as we know it. But it was if it is going to hit us, we'll have 10 years to prepare, and that could be as much as 10 years to prepare for the actual hit, and what that means, like bringing people away from the coastlines that are going to not be, that are going to be underwater in 10 years, or even coming up with technology to move the asteroid so that it won't hit us.
Right, right. Well, as a race, we're really good at coming up with weapons. So all we have to do is believe that, that asteroid has something that we as a culture want, and then we will come up with the perfect weapon to destroy it.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other podcast.
So evidently, if it was going to strike us, it would be like it's saying 2036.
So that means we'll know in about 12 years is when the keyhole will happen.
I might have been wrong on the 10 years. So, because I
Are
know
we supposed to know on Friday?
I know. I was thinking 10 years, but it might be more like 20 years that it.
Well, hopefully we'll get to revisit this. At that point, we'll still be doing this podcast whenever that is. That'd be awesome.
And then we could, say this is the last podcast before Apophis kills us.
Yes, we'll be really over dramatic about it, and we'll drink bottled water and eat 50-pound bags of rice in honor of doomsday preppers.
And we'll drink a toast to Y2K and the Mayans. The Mayans got close. I mean,
they did.
I mean, when you're predicting a couple of hundred or thousands of years in the future, and you only miss it by 30 years, that's pretty damn good. Well, it looks like we've pretty much hammered that topic about as much as we can.
Yeah, we definitely dipped in and out of that one for a while. That was.
So let us move on to our next topic. Actually, before we get on to our next topic, I want to let you know that I am still playing the crap out of Red Dead Redemption and enjoying it thoroughly, even though it is, probably 3, maybe 4 years old?
Is it that old?
I think so. When did it come out?
It sounds right now that you say it, but it's fresher in my mind just because I enjoyed playing the game so much.
And it's still pretty good. There is some aspects that I can tell how it's dated in comparison to like Halo 4, which I've also been playing a lot of. Halo 4, I don't know if you know this. I told my brother about this, but they shot the scenes for Halo 4, the cutscenes. Many of the cutscenes are shot live action.
Okay.
They shot them, and then much like they would do where they'd have the people in the suits with the ping pong balls and everything.
Right. Motion capture, yeah.
They did that for it, but they also had these cameras on their faces and motion capture computer programs for their faces, and so all of the characters, all of the acting that they would do with their faces and everything is captured and in the game. So the characters are very believable and their reactions to things are very believable. Now these are for the cutscenes, obviously, so it's pre-rendered stuff. It's not, in the middle of the, you shooting a grunt's face off or anything like that.
Right.
But it adds a great deal of believability to it, and it makes it more, which is the way I feel that games are going, like playing playing a movie. You're playing the part in a movie. Um, the characters are more real. The decisions you make, the actions that are taken, you feel more connected to those characters. Um, but even though Red Dead Redemption doesn't have any of that stuff, it still has a pretty decent story, and I still like the characters that exist, even though some of them are kind of hokey, sort of,
Yeah.
very very thin sort of characters. The game itself is pretty fun, and there's been a couple of times I've made decisions that I was really disappointed that I made that decision. But it's nice to see, and it's such a big world. It's very fleshed out, and Rockstar does a good job with games like that that but unlike some of the earlier Grand Theft Autos where a lot of the characters just feel like they're just, not the characters but the kind of people walking on the street. They didn't seem to have a purpose. These ones in Red Dead Redemption, they all seem to have it's almost like you want to stop to see what everybody is doing just because you think that they're supposed to be a character you're supposed to interact with.
Right, right. Like they're parts of the living world, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times I'll be riding through the countryside and I'll hear a horse coming and I'm thinking, oh crap, somebody's coming up on me and I'm going to have to kill somebody. But they're not. They're riding past. But it's just those moments makes you feel very in the world, in the moment for those games. And that's something Red Dead Redemption, I think, does very, very well, especially for a game that in kind of electronic terms is getting kind of old. I mean, it's definitely into its middle ages.
Definitely. Well, I mean, a lot of what, at least for me, made that game so like memorable or why I had so much fun playing it is the writing combined with the voice acting. And that's the kind of stuff that even as um like the rendering, the graphics and things like that sort of fall behind the times, that stuff is still going to hold up. Um, and it is very immersive because no matter where you go, it does feel like you're always in the same world. You're never, like a term that you hear a lot is zoning or loading. You don't really deal with that. Once you're in the game, you're in the game. You don't, no matter how far you ride your horse across the countryside, you're pretty much never gonna zone or have to load into another world. Um, yeah, it's just a very well crafted game.
Yeah, the only times you ever have loading screens is when you first start up the game. Every time, obviously, when you start it up, it loads your game, and then anytime you begin a mission, there's a loading screen. But really, other than that, I mean, you could go for hours and just ride around and do nothing but hunt
Oh
or
yeah,
collect flowers or something. Yeah, you can collect flowers for those who don't know, and it's very important because they're worth money. So
and
don't
that's what cowboys used to do.
yeah don't judge me. um, but yeah, I mean, you can even pick up little missions that don't require a loading screen. You just run into somebody, or there's an active event where somebody's about to get killed, either by some mountain lions or by some overzealous drunk bar patron, and you have to intervene. What do you do? Shoot him in the head, or do you lasso him and tie him up?
Shoot him in the head. I haven't made that decision yet.
You never had that happen?
Oh no, no, I would just shoot them. I
Oh.
would, yeah. It
Yeah,
just,
I would always just shoot them just because it's so hard to get the lasso out in time, and then I'm always afraid they're going to kill the person before I get over there.
right. And it's a video game, and
Yeah,
it's like that sort of mentality does reign a little bit within that world, so it feels okay.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I don't do that in my normal life. I don't just shoot people. I
yeah.
lasso them instead. Well, if and when you get to the undead nightmare, you can definitely get a good taste of that. Um, just because the zombies are everywhere and they're like the creatures that you come across in the world, especially the predators, bears, cougars, things like that. The zombie versions of them are there. So you get sort of that release of, just going around and, shooting anything that seems to move.
Yeah, I accidentally started that one time, but it was before I'd really played any of the games, so my character didn't have anything.
Ooh.
Yeah, they gave me like the basic kind of pistol and the basic rifle and basic shotgun, and yeah,
And you lasted what, 15, 20
didn't last
minutes?
very long because I didn't have very many bullets or anything.
Oh yeah, that
So
too.
it ended up being me just kind of running from all the zombies.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Red Dead, awesome game. But we did have a second topic we did want to discuss today. Um, Nobody really knows this, but this technically will show up as our third podcast, but realistically, it's actually our fourth. We had some recording complications in that first one, and there was a topic that we talked about. It was right around the time that the $500 million lottery was out there, and we talked about that a little bit and the effects of that. But we thought we would revisit it. We had fun talking about it. It's really close to Christmas. Today, the day we're recording it, or technically yesterday now on Wednesday, Powerball's at $50 million. So what if? What if you won that money? We have a handful of days till Christmas. All that's between us and Christmas is basically 4 days and the end of the world. Um, if you could get the money, which you wouldn't get the money fast enough to be able to actually spend it on Christmas. But Justin, if tomorrow you found out you had $50 million, the government took its share, now you have probably maybe $30 million. You get the check, it's in your checking account, you're ready to go. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for family, friends, strangers? What Christmas miracles would you make happen?
Well, unlike a lot of people that I've talked to with that, and obviously in our last conversation regarding this, I wouldn't run out and quit my job. I do enjoy what I do, and so I would definitely, at least for a while, I would keep working. Now, in terms of with Christmas coming up, I will say that one of the very first things I would do is, um, and this is going to be kind of selfish, but I'm going to pay off every single loan, every single uh, I'll pay off our mortgage for our home, and I'll pay off the my wife's car, and I'll pay off all our student loans, so that we don't have any debt anymore. That would be the very first thing that I would do. The second thing I would probably do is I'd call up my brother and say, "Hey, you know that mortgage payment you have to make on your home every year, every month, right? Well, you don't have to make it anymore because my brother bought the home that we grew up in from my father, who owned it at the time, and then he took over the mortgage at one point because he likes that house, and it would be great to be able to tell him that he wouldn't have to pay his mortgage anymore. Um, Probably, I mean, 50 million is a lot of money. I mean, when we were first talking about it, we were talking about 500 million, which is an ungodly amount of money. But 50 million is still a good chunk of change. I mean, I could probably pay off the mortgage of every member of my family, and buy them all a relatively nice car and still have a decent chunk left over.
Depending on how expansive your family is, definitely.
But still, I mean, even if they were, even if they were $1 million homes, if we're saying you get, a check for 50 million, I only have, seven siblings.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you figure 10 people at $500,000 house, which is way more reasonable, but still a very nice house in most of the world or most of this country, you're still only talking about $5 million, which is only 10% of what you won. I mean, and $45 million is still an unbelievable amount of money, you
Yeah,
know. I mean, you don't want to keep doing that, or you're going to be one of those people on one of those learning channel shows, how the lottery ruined my life.
yeah. But I mean, honestly, after paying off some bills, buying a couple of nice things for members of my family, um, maybe a couple of my friends, um, I would probably just invest a huge chunk of that. I would give that money to an investor and say, here you go. I don't want to ever work the rest of my life. I don't want my kids to have to work ever, if they don't want to. And I don't want their kids to have to work if they don't want to. And say, now make it happen. Here's $40 million or here's $30 million. Make it happen.
Right, right.
But maybe it's because I don't understand specifically how things happen, financially, those kinds of things. But I would imagine if you start with the 30 million, it would be easy to kind of just. I don't want me or my children or their children to have to work if they don't want to. What about you?
I would probably do the same thing. I mean, for my mom, my older brother has a house. I would definitely want to pay them off. I have some close friends, some that I call cousins that aren't technically my cousins, but they are my cousins because I've known them forever. I would probably pay off their house. Um, I would start looking for a house of my own. Presently, I rent. Probably quickly find myself a new car, just because mine's a few years old, and it'd be nice to have a new car, especially going into the winter. Um, and I would probably do some shopping for Christmas. I'm not sure what I would get. There's not necessarily a lot for everybody. I might actually even hide it until Christmas Day and then sort of let, people that were close to me know on that day. I think that'd be a lot of fun, to be able to tell my mom that she never has to work again, you
Yeah.
know, to tell, my brothers, my sister, you're not going to like live the life of the rich and famous, but I guarantee you're not going to want for necessities, like you'll have a roof over your head, you'll have food, you know. I'm not buying everybody a Ferrari, so everybody sit back down again. Um, but we're good, and that, just to know that I could be in a situation where I could offer that to them would be fantastic. I would also, on a very personal note, something near and dear to my heart, would call Alienware, who build gaming computers, and I would talk to the tech department, and I'd be like, "Listen, gentlemen, that computer you keep talking about that you'd want to build, I want two of those for myself." Yeah, I mean, because like, yeah, you got to live joyously if you get that kind of money. Um, but yeah, I also would, you have to. You have to get a lawyer and an accountant pretty much right off the bat, possibly even before you claim the money. I remember it was a long time ago now. There was someone that won a lot of money and refused to claim the ticket because they told him that if he gave the money to his family, that they'd have to pay taxes again. And he's like, "Well, then I'm not turning in the ticket." And so eventually, if I remember the story correctly, he got a lawyer. He set up some sort of corporation, and then brought in these people, so they were part of the corporation, but he was in charge of it, and then had the corporation win it instead. They claimed the ticket. The corporation claimed the ticket. So then they pay the taxes once, and he can distribute the money to these people that he involved in that corporation, whoever he sees fit,
Okay.
without those taxes getting paid again. So I would. That's actually rewinding back. That is probably the first thing I would do, pre getting the money. Set up something like that, so because you don't want to get hit twice on stuff like that. Just trying to help out friends or family.
Yeah, you never really think about the yeah, if one of my friends says, "Hey, can I borrow $5?" And you give them $5, you don't ever think about if they asked for $5 million, that that there's going to be other things involved in you just gave out $5 million, and there are taxes and all kinds of other things involved in giving that kind of money.
Right. Any gift of even giving someone a house, they would have to, I believe, they would have to pay. Even giving someone a house, like that's some small thing. Like if I was just giving away a house, government's going to get all up in my grill about it. Like, I mean, but like if you were to give that gift away, it's not even cash. Um, they I'm sure there's some sort of taxes involved in there somewhere that they would get hit with. But yeah, I know that it would be a very Merry Christmas. I mean, I plan on it being a very Merry Christmas anyways. Don't get me wrong. I don't need $50 million to enjoy my Christmas. Um, but I could, it would be a Christmas to remember, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I've got my brother just sent me something. I'm not allowed to open it until Christmas, which I was surprised because I mean uh, we don't exchange gifts really that much, and so now I feel bad because I didn't get him anything, and
Oh,
so because we haven't bought anything for each other in forever,
then
and
he's not expecting anything. I wouldn't worry too much about that. He probably found something that he was like, "This is my brother Justin. I have to get this for him."
yeah, well. That doesn't change my feelings that I'm like, oh, well, he got something for me. Now I feel like I should get something for him. But that's just me. Like I like to be able to get stuff for other people, and I'm okay with saying, listen, I got this for you because I wanted to get you something. Sometimes, especially if I've worked with a particular crew of managers for a while, and Christmas is coming, I will get them all gift cards and things like that, just because I want to show them my appreciation. Um, the crew that I'm with right now, I only recently got to that store, so I'm still kind of up in the air about whether or not I'm going to do anything, um, because I don't know. I don't really know them that well. But
Right, right.
it's when I'm on the other side of it, where someone else has decided, oh, I just want to get something for Justin. I always feel like, oh man, I didn't get them anything. I feel like a schmuck for not getting them anything, and now they got me something. And my sister did that to me this year as well. And she sent, well, I mean, it wasn't technically for me; it was for me and my wife and the kids. And but and it was from her family. But she hasn't. But she's always been really good about getting gifts for everybody in the family, and I'm horrible at it. I'm just all around a terrible sibling.
Oh man, I heard about this. I'm just kidding. Well, I think it's very common for people to feel that way. What I advise people in situations like that, because I've had so many people that have worked for me over the years, and you talk about stuff. Younger people, it's what if it was the reverse? What if you had sent that present out to your brother and he didn't send you anything? Would you feel bad about that? Would you be like, "Oh, my brother's a jerk"?
No,
No, and that's the good play. And for me, that's the way I try to look at it because I'd be the same way. If I get a gift from someone, I didn't get them something, I'm like, now I feel uncomfortable. This is weird for me. I wish I would have gotten them something. But if the reverse happens, I'm totally fine with it. Like, oh, it's not a big deal. You didn't get me something. I saw this. I thought of you. I got it for you. It's not a big deal. It's weird. I don't know. I don't know where the root of that is in our psyche, but we both grew up in very different households. We're of different ages, but we have what sounds like very similar reactions to the same situation.
yeah. But anyway, I don't know what he got me. I was actually I was surprised it came so quickly, because he had only just texted me about what my address was again, just confirming it, um, and had told me not to open it. And so I had told my wife when we came across this package on my doorstep. I said, I was like, oh, that's probably the thing from my brother. He said he was sending me, and so I was like, I wonder what it is. But I had forgotten that he said, I'm not supposed to look at it. And so I have a box cutter all you know downstairs because it's with my work stuff because I wear a box cutter at work. And so I got it and I opened it up, and just after I'd sliced it open, I hadn't actually peeled back the box yet. I Then it hit me. I was like, oh crap, I'm not supposed to look at this until Christmas. So I had to give it to my wife so she could verify that it was the gift from my brother. And she looked at it and she goes, oh yeah, this is from your brother. And I said, okay, well you wrap it for me and then I'll open it on Christmas. Um, so yes, I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know what he got me. And I always get kind of like I always like want to know what it is I'm getting for Christmas. Like either I need to buy it for myself or somebody just needs to get me a gift card. But I know my brother well enough, and he knows me well enough that I'm not worried. Like there have been other people who, if they buy me something and you know, they don't really consult with me about what I really am looking for, what I want as a gift. I always get kind of nervous about what I'm going to get, and then having to pretend that it was the greatest gift ever. But I'm not really worried about that with my brother. I'm fairly confident that this is probably going to be the greatest gift I'm going to get for Christmas this year.
Nice. Well, I just want to put it out there that if ever for some reason we begin exchanging gifts on holidays or for any reason, and I get you something you don't like, you can just tell me that. I'm totally cool with that. Like, really, dude, this is what you got me? I'm fine with that. And that's the way I think that we should be able to be, but it's a weird thing because I mean, like in the reverse situation, say you got me something and I was like, really, this is what you got me? I would know that your intentions were good when you want to buy it for me, but it just isn't what I like, whatever it would be, you know. But we have to pretend, oh, auntie, whatever, I love this sweater, or wow, I always wanted snowshoe flip flops, or whatever stupid gift somebody gives somebody. Um, but there is that, because they bought you a gift, you have to lie to them. And now maybe next year they're going to buy you another dumb gift because they really think you like it. And that's why some people have like collections of frogs or, weird collections because they got the one thing they didn't really like and they're like, oh, I love frogs. And now it becomes a thing and everybody buys them frogs. And there's only three people that know they truly despise frogs, but they have to like have all these frogs displayed just in case any of these people that bought in these awkward frog gifts ever show up at their house. I refuse to live in that world. If somebody buys me a frog and I don't like it, I'm not going to display it. You're never going to come to my house and see it unless I put it up ironically because I'm like, that's the awful creepy frog that Justin bought me 2 years ago, or whatever.
I'm gonna buy you a frog now.
Oh man, I opened myself up to that, didn't I? At least I don't despise frogs, so I'll be all right. It'll be middle of the road for me. I'm not a frog lover, but I'm not trying to make them extinct either.
Oh, so we are looking forward to a pretty good Christmas, and I hope everybody out there is looking forward to a good Christmas. There are times when we just need to sit back, I think, and take a moment, just spend some time with our families, especially with everything that's been going on lately. I think it's important to really take that moment. And what I'm obviously referencing is we're we saved this for the end because with the last podcast things were pretty heavy and we don't want to get into it too much. But I do want to address a little bit the events that happened in Newtown, Connecticut. Um, I can't remember the name of the elementary school. Do you know what it is, James?
I think Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook sounds correct. Yes. Um, you know, I I don't want to get into it too much. I think that we're going to be covering a variety of subject matter relevant to these tragic events. Um, Probably early next year, maybe even next week. We might get into it. Um, but I think it's important to just take a moment to just think about what happened and spend time with people that you love. Spend time with people that you like to be around. Um, and that's really all I'm going to say for this week. On that, we will, like I said, there's a lot of things to talk about just in regards to that. And James and I do want to talk about it. We think that it's important to talk about, um, but just not this week.
Agreed, agreed. I think though this is a good week to, remember those people that you care about and spend that time with them and say the things you probably don't say often enough. The night of the event we've been talking about, I was going to be off and I was going to sit at home alone and do laundry and probably play on the computer, maybe turn on the Xbox. And instead I ended up going and I just spent the night, hanging with my mom and my sister and her husband. Um, and it was fantastic. It was great. It's exactly, I think, what all of us needed. I mean, you get there and it was kind of somber, but by the end of the night, it was all smiles and just that comfort of spending time with people that you truly love, and just remembering and appreciating them and reminding them that you appreciate them. And, it's that one small good that can come out of something sometimes. And to spend the rest of this week, I mean, it's the Christmas season, so hopefully we're getting a little extra of that anyways. um But yeah, I mean, they're out there. You maybe haven't talked to them or told them recently enough. And this is a great time of year to make that extra little effort and remind them. It doesn't have to be a gift. Sometimes it's just a conversation.
I don't think I could have said it better myself. So, I'd like to wrap up. I came up with another fun, silly sort of question to ask you.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay,
All right.
what do we got this week?
So, you're on your way up to checkout at a grocery store. Okay, you've got $25 worth of items, and on your way up there, you find a coupon on the floor that says $10 off when you spend $35. What are the first $10 worth of things you grab?
Ooh, I'm at a grocery store.
Yeah, grocery store.
Um, oh, that is an interesting question. I have one of those Keurig coffee machines.
Okay.
So that is one of the first things that popped in my head. But where I'm sitting right now, I have a view of my kitchen, so I might be a little biased. Um, something that I know I'm going to use anyways. I might go, just get some paper towels that I know I'll go through.
Okay.
Something that maybe isn't on my list, but I just know I would use that, isn't more than like 11 or $12. Or I mean, who knows? There could be something that was in my head when I was there that I was like, oh, I was really thinking about picking up this movie on Blu-ray, and then maybe I'll go get it because now it's basically, it's half off because most Blu-rays you're talking about $20, and now it's only 10. So I mean, it would really vary, but I think it would be something that I would know I would use anyways. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What's your answer to that question? I mean, you got to think about it a little longer than I did.
I did. Yeah, I did throw it at you real quick. Honestly, I if I'm hungry, which when I thought about this question, I was hungry at the time. So my first thought was, oh man, I'm gonna go back find like $10 worth of chips, sweet snacks like muffins and anything that's like $5 worth of like sweet stuff and $5 worth of like salty chippy kind of stuff. And oh man, I'm gonna have such a great time tonight. But yeah, that was my first thought was I'm gonna go get something to eat. $10 worth of like junk food.
I could totally hear where the root of that question came from. How can I get $10 of free food right now?
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, and other times where I've had very similar situations where I'm like, oh, 10, I have to spend 10 more dollars, but I get $10 worth of the stuff free. It has always been things like, well, we're going to need diapers, and it's not like we're not going to use them. Or, paper towels are definitely something I'm always going to use, or toothpaste, or toothbrushes. Like, I'm going to use toothbrushes, or I'm going to use toothpaste. Might as well get some. At the time, it was I really want some freaking chips. So, so we are right about at an hour, just around. I'm not sure exactly, but it looks like it. So we are going to wrap things up. Um, James, as always, I will give you the last word. All I really want to say is I hope everybody has a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, as probably most people celebrate Christmas. So happy Christmas to you. Happy holidays. We will see you guys before the end of the year. So um, please stay safe. Don't drink too much. Don't get into too many fights with your family. Remember that they're probably some of the people who will love you no matter what. So make sure you give them a couple of hugs. That's pretty much it. James, as always, final word.
Well, the holidays can be stressful for some people, but just remember, I mean, this is the time when, it's supposed to be a happy time and don't let it get to you. You know, there's no one's really worried about what you're going to get them for Christmas. And if they are, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just try to enjoy this time. For those that live local, I know we got this big storm coming tomorrow and the next day, so drive safe. Be careful if you don't have to go to work like me and Justin. Stay home, hang out with a loved one, watch Elf like two or three times, Enjoy the holidays. By the time we see you again, you'll know what you got for Christmas. Justin will know what he got from his brother, and I'm excited to find out. Otherwise, thanks for listening to podcast number 3, and everybody have a fantastic holiday.